Hi, welcome to Inside the Moms Club, where being a mom is the coolest place to be. Here in the Moms Club, we believe that what embarrasses you now will make a great story later. And let's face it, you don't laugh sometimes, you're gonna cry. Join us in having a good laugh together. I'm Monica Samuels. You are now inside the Moms Club, your private destination for all things mom. Hi, moms. Welcome to Inside the Moms Club. I'm Monica Samuels, and I'm here with my co-host, Raha Dixon. Hello, Raha.
How are you? And hi, listening moms.
I'm good. Yeah, we're excited. We have a great show here today. And just to catch up real quick, so I haven't seen you for a week or so.
I know.
We've had a great time at the MS Gala here in Los Angeles.
Oh, it was so
Back
fun.
in LA, it was great.
Yeah.
And so now you're back to real life, working. You got your son.
Yeah.
And now you'll have a dog, correct?
Yes,
Puppy?
we do. Kind of. He's 3 now. Boxer
wow,
Pit.
okay.
He was 1 when we got him, so he was super puppy energy. Now he's a little more chill. But he is the love of our lives. And my son had this project at school where he had to write, I love, the dog came first. I think I was like 5th. So, that's how it goes.
Yeah,
with
it
dogs.
does. Well, I know that feeling. Well, so, we have 2 dogs. We have our puppy Luca.
Okay.
And we have Cookie.
Oh.
And so I got home and Luca has started following particularly men in the house and biting the back of their leg gently. So, in case there's anybody out there that's thinking of suing, we've had nothing that's caused any problems so far that would require litigation. But he started doing that. So our vet has referred us to a behavioral veterinarian, which I guess is a vet psychiatrist. So Luca will now be under the care of a psychiatrist. We're hoping that will eliminate that. And then Cookie just recovered from her knee replacement surgery.
Oh, wow.
That was quite an event for us.
Knee replacement surgery.
So we've been dealing with a lot with the dogs
Yeah.
lately. And we initially, our first dog was Jack. And Jack was the pet patriarch of the family. Everybody absolutely loved Jack. And Jack, when he was 11, he got osteosarcoma of the rib, which is very aggressive bone cancer. And we did everything we could to save Jack. We even drove him to Houston for experimental treatments. We did everything.
Listen,
it was
man,
crazy.
your dogs are more woke than most people I know. I mean, your dog has a psychiatrist. You're getting experimental treatment.
Yes.
Hello, humans. Let's wake up and catch up with our dogs.
My kids would probably say, well, when we need something, what do you do for us? But the dogs seem to come, they do a little bit better, I think, sometimes. But yeah, so Jack sadly passed away, and then Cookie. So then a year passed, and we thought, well, we can get a new dog. Now we're ready for a puppy. So we bring Luca in, thinking Cookie needs a companion. She's so used to having a companion.
Yeah.
And the minute we brought Luca in, Cookie looked at us like, seriously, people? I mean, what did I do to deserve this? This is horrible. And then we felt bad about that. And then she got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah.
So last year she went through radiation therapy, and of course now she's the dog equivalent of torn her ACL. I mean, it's been quite an ordeal.
Welcome to our really funny mom show.
Yeah,
wow. Are we
hilarious. But so when Jack died, though, this is kind of an interesting.
Okay.
You can advise me because it's sad, but
Talk to me.
hopefully you outlive your pets.
I hope so.
It's a sad
I
thing,
hope so.
but we hope to. Yeah. And what do you do when they've passed away? Like in Jack's case, we had him cremated. We had him put in a little nice rosewood box, and they called me one day and said Jack is ready to be picked up. So I went over there, and he's in a bag that says fond memories, and they put him in the back seat behind me, and I'm driving home, and I'm like, okay, what are we going to do with Jack? There was no discussion about, well, what do we do with Jack? So I walked in the house, and I thought, you know what, I'll just take him into my room, and I set him down gently on my husband's side of the bed on his nightstand.
Not your side.
Because I thought it was kind of creepy to have him right there next to me. So he has stayed there for 1.5 years.
Wow.
Everyone, like when the housekeepers come, like once a month, every once in a while, they don't know what to do with some of the things they find laying around. So they put him in the bag with Jack.
No.
And one day I walked in there and Jack's bag had a baseball cap on top of it. I mean, it's very irreverent. So we need to figure this out.
Oh my God. I love that though, because that's the only time you might giggle about it, right? When there's a baseball cap on
the, but that,
Jack.
But yeah, so I don't know. We talked about, do we bury him in the backyard? Do we
what'd you
spread
do?
his ashes, which, there's laws about that actually.
There
Everyone
are?
should know. Well, there really are.
What are you allowed to not?
Well, there are for human beings, which is kind of ironic because you hear about people being spread all over.
All over. It's on every TV show.
People aren't really following those laws, but
clearly.
But anyway, so we've like, what's the appropriate thing to do? And I don't know what we're going to do when we move someday. What will happen?
So you still don't know.
But then I have a friend who, when she bought her house, she walked into the garage and there were all these tins that contain the remains of all the dogs that I guess had previously lived there. And they had been left in the move. And so she called the owners and said, you probably want these because he probably means so much to you. And they said, no, just whatever you want to do with.
Oh, wow.
So
I wonder what that does energetically to have all those different dogs. Listening moms, you may wonder that too.
Yeah, not to be, we don't want to be, we like to have fun and laugh on the show.
Yeah,
but
wow.
Some things, we're not.
My heart hurts. It's only been 3 minutes.
No, well, we'll try to keep this light. But I will tell you what, you have to keep this in mind because now I'm in a position where Cookie, she has 2 kinds of cancer. I mean,
oh man,
she's hanging in there, but we've already experienced that with Jack. And as much as you love your pets, and of course now I've got mine going to the psychiatrist, and he's doing a lot. He's only 1, so
like I said, your
he
dogs
has a good long
woke.
life ahead of him. Hopefully not biting people, or because if he keeps that up, he could find himself,
oh my God,
in legal trouble, facing execution. So we got to be careful here, and
wow, we really lighten the mood there.
Yeah, well, it won't happen. I won't let it happen. We're taking care of this.
We're taking
no
care
more
of it.
biting people.
Yeah.
But because today we're going to deal with this up front so that people that have pets, because everybody got pets during COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people did.
Yeah, I did. I was not even a dog person. I didn't even really like to have a dog.
Yeah. So
now if something happens to my dog, I don't know what I would do.
Right. And your son would really be devastated because that's
I don't even want to think
everybody.
about that because I feel like that will be therapy for him and I for years to come.
Yeah.
If I am even remotely responsible.
So we're going to get some answers to how do you get ready for that? What do you do?
All right.
How does your dog fond memories bag? How can we should get a designer in here too. How do you blend him in with the furniture? If that's what it comes
to.
Anyway. We have with us, we're very fortunate to have a pet loss grief counselor and certified pet chaplain with us.
Yeah, let's go.
She works with individuals and families before, during, and after the loss of their beloved animal companion. She's known on Instagram for her account at Honoring Our Animals. She is the mother of a 3-year-old son and 3 delightful felines. Welcome, Beth Bigler. Welcome to the Moms Club.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me here.
Nice to see you. Well, yeah, we cover a lot of subject. We try to stay light and keep it light because that's our motto.
Yeah.
If you don't laugh, sometimes you're going to cry. So we like moms to laugh a little. But this is a real issue. I mean, I think you're finding in your practice that you're seeing a lot of people dealing with it, and there's so many facets of it. And just as an aside, and this is not to get into this is before you get into humans. There's also with the pets. Like when they lose their owner, they grieve.
Yeah.
Or when we were taking Jack in because he was, we had to euthanize him. We said, well, what do we do with Cookie? And our vet said, bring her. And she'll see, it's nature. She'll see he's gone. And it actually worked because otherwise she was sitting at the front door all day waiting for him when he was in the hospital waiting.
Oh, man.
So there's a lot of facets to this whole issue. So tell us, first of all, how did you start your practice? What led you to become a pet loss grief counselor and a pet chaplain?
Well, I became a pet loss grief counselor because I went through the loss of my soulmate animal. His name was Arnie. He was an orange and white tabby cat, and he was the absolute love of my life. And I was working, I'm also a writer and producer. I was working in film and television in Los Angeles, and life was going along swimmingly. I was very happy in my career, very happy with my animals. And when Arnie was 11, he got a 30-day diagnosis with mast cell cancer.
Oof.
And they said he would be gone in 30 days. And I thought I was going to die. I didn't think I could survive it. So I knew I needed help. I immediately found an amazing pet loss grief therapist in Los Angeles and began sessions right away. And we also did that experimental cancer treatment, like you mentioned, Monica, that you did. And we went into remission with Arnie, which was a miracle. So he outlived those 30 days.
Wow.
But even after he went into remission, I continued working with my pet loss therapist because I knew I needed help. Why was I so upset? Why did I feel so crazy that he might die? Why was I so connected to him? And how could I get ready? Because the day was going to come. So I continued working with her until I really felt like I was ready for whenever it would happen. And that was fortunate because almost a year later, on the last day of my first trimester in my first pregnancy, my only pregnancy, he died unexpectedly. He got a cancer that killed him inside a week. So even though I had done all that preparation, I'd done all that work before, it was still a shock, and I still had a lot to work through. And so I continued working. And because of my wonderful positive experience with that, plus a couple other people that I was able to help along the way, I was like, I got to start doing this. I have to do this for real. This is a calling. So I began working with people. I began my different trainings, and I opened my practice, and now I work with people all the time.
I love what you said about how you prepared, and yet when Arnie died, it was such a shock. And I think listening moms are like, yeah, you're never ready for anyone or any pet to die. Do you think that everyone should get in front of this who has a pet? Like, I have a pet who's 3, who's fine, who has no illnesses. Do I need to start this process now?
Yes.
Oh, man. I was hoping you would say no. Who wants to open that door?
Yeah.
Well, I view this as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? This is an opportunity for us. When it comes to our kids, the way that we talk about death, the way we talk about dying, the way we show them how we adjust and integrate to the loss, the way that we show them how to prepare, this is a wonderful opportunity to help normalize death and dying for our children and also for ourselves. So your goodbye begins the day you bring your animal home. And if you know that, and if you do your best to live every day with your animal like it's the best day ever, you're going to feel a lot more centered and peaceful when they do finally die.
So I feel like listening moms are going, how is my 8-year-old going to understand the day we get our dog, we have to remember that he's also going to die? How do you explain that to a child?
Well, of course, it hopefully doesn't start with just the day that you bring home your animal. Hopefully, we're all trying to point out to our kids about the natural life cycles in life. If we're out on a walk and we see a dead bird, we're explaining that. I do bird funerals in my yard whenever we find a dead bird. Hopefully this conversation has begun so that our kids know. And if that conversation hasn't started in your house, feel free to start it today. But, one of the biggest feelings we feel when our animals die, it doesn't matter the circumstances, is we feel guilt.
Yeah.
We feel regret. We sometimes feel shame that we
Listening
didn't
moms?
do enough or we didn't.
Guilt much?
Especially as moms.
Yeah.
So one of the ways to assuage that after the fact is to make your interactions with your animal ones that you're not going to feel guilty about at the end of the day.
I already feel guilty that I don't walk my son and see dead birds. I now need to do that.
There's no time like the present, Raha. Get out there and get those dead bird funerals going.
So some of the guilt comes from how you handle the end. And I know on your website, you're talking about working with people through anticipatory loss. Mm-hmm. And I really wish that I'd had that with Jack because we didn't want him to die. We held on to him so much that at the end, his cancer progressed very fast and he ended up being paralyzed in the back, like the last few days of his life. The last few days of his life were brutal for him and horrible. And it was very difficult for our family to say, okay. In fact, we were waiting for his oncologist was off for 2 days. We're like, well, can we wait and talk to him? as if that was really going to make any difference, because it really wasn't. And we know that now. So now we ask ourselves, well, did we make him suffer longer than really we were being unfair to him? So how do you prepare people, like if you know your pet is in that kind of situation, how do you get people ready to be ready to let go, to actually take that step? How do you advise them, what's the right time, the right way to do that?
Well, look, the decision, if we're talking about something where we have to decide about the date and time of the euthanasia, that is very personal, right? So it's not a decision I can make for anyone. But when I am working with anticipatory clients, of course, this comes up all the time. When do I do it? When is the right time? And I generally like to defer to the medical staff. What is your veterinarian advising? Some people have pet hospice programs going. What is that doctor saying? There's a lot of ways that we can measure quality of life for our animals. Are they eating? Are they drinking? Are they enjoying their normal routines? Can they stand? Can they move? Right? And knowing about that before your animal has progressed, in their illness is helpful, because then you have a standard that you can look to say, I want to make sure my animal is living their best life and having a good quality of life. And so I really like to encourage people to understand about the different quality of life scales, talk to their doctors, and make that decision, with the medical staff. Also, you kind of have to acknowledge, are you waiting for your sake? Or are you waiting for the animal's sake? I don't believe in allowing any suffering for animals. And even if you want one more day, you have to really consider, is that the best thing for your beloved?
Now, do you get
it's personal
referrals? Wow. Like, will a veterinarian say, you know what, or tell the pet owner, I want you to talk to Beth. But probably if a Beth had been around in Austin, maybe that would have very much happened to us, when literally Jack couldn't even move and we were trying to delay it. Is that what happens? You get a referral?
I get a lot of referrals from veterinarians. The truth is, for anticipatory clients, the euthanasia process, the end-of-life process goes so much better if you have somebody like me in your corner walking through it with you. It also can help you understand more what's going on. You're not calling your vet 40 times a day with questions, right? You have another support for this really difficult roller coaster. So many veterinarians just give people my name when they give a diagnosis, or when things are clear that they're progressing. And so I do get a lot of referrals from veterinarians and many other, dog groomers, dog physical therapists, dog chiropractors, all kinds of people in the pet community, send people to me because they know it's a difficult road to walk alone, whether it's anticipatory or post-loss.
Now, how do you usually get referral? Post-loss counseling, which you also do.
Yeah.
How does that usually come up? It's just a continuation of, now they've lost their pet and you continue counseling them? Or I know some people, their pets their whole life, so they can be so devastated. Maybe a friend says, you know what, you need to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Well, truthfully, your friends get sick of hearing about it. Who wants to hear about the dead dog after a week? That's just how it is. There are very few friends, even your best friends, who can really hold space for you about the death of your animal. And the truth is, most people don't get it. They don't understand. I know for a fact, for many people, your companion animal is the most intimate relationship of your life. Wow. Period.
Don't tell my husband.
My husband already knows. Look, think about it though. Yeah. Many of us talk to our dogs or cats, talk to our animals, touch our animals, engage with them, caretake for them even more than we do with our spouses or even children. And especially depending on what life stage you're in, this might be by far the most daily interaction you have with any soul. So It is important that when this animal dies, that there is support. And the truth is, most friends just aren't cut out to sit with it and really hold the space and process the anger, the guilt, the shame, the pain, the sorrow, the am I crazy because I don't want to pick up the food bowls, or am I crazy because I'm sleeping, with their dog bed next to me? I mean, friends aren't going to know what to do with that. So that's where someone like me becomes very supportive. So when people have a loss and they're struggling, a lot of people know about me. They send them my way.
Question, is it very costly to have sessions with you? I mean, I know a lot of our listening moms are like, okay, I can barely afford my own therapist. I can't, what kind of costing are we looking at for this? Is it a
Well,
6-month thing? I mean, what's the deal?
Well, in terms of working together one on one, the nice thing about grief counseling is that it's quite short term compared to like therapy, where you might be in for a few years, right?
Yeah.
So, in general, now circumstances vary, but in general, most people work with me three months, 4 months, like weekly sessions. And generally, a lot of people by that time feel, okay, good to go. Or sometimes we work
Yeah.
together for 3 months and then we might meet like once a month, kind of for a tune-up, or once around like a major anniversary or something that's happening. So it's a fairly short-term process, and it's not free, but depending on where you live, it's no worse than therapy in terms of cost. So I work all over. I work worldwide. Actually, I have clients all over the
Oh,
globe.
wow.
I work via Zoom. I work, just like this. So I service everybody in many continents.
Wow.
When you talk about cost too, so in preparing for this show, I was looking up some things, and I remember my parents, when our dogs died, they said, well, we sent Tiffany and Scooter, or we sent them to Tooth Acres. And I always thought, are they telling me the truth, or does such a place exist? So I thought it was always a place just to make me feel better with whatever they actually did. Tooth Acres actually exists. I looked it up last night. It's in Dallas. And they have other services. It's like a full service cemetery for dogs. And I was looking up the cost of interring your dog at Tooth Acres. The casket was like, the burial was $700. The casket was $200 or $300. I mean, it got to be about $1,000.
Yeah, that's
to
a
bury
lot.
your dog. And I know you're also a pet chaplain. I presume, is that to conduct services over with, or what's the role of that?
Right. So as a pet chaplain, the definition of chaplaincy is about providing spiritual support for people. Like many of you have probably seen chaplains in hospitals, and they'll
Yeah.
offer
Yeah.
to come in and bring support. So as a pet chaplain, I can do all kinds of things, including services, animal memorial services, blessings for animals. When I work with people, I help construct a lot of ceremonies as well for different clients. I do a lot of going away. I help clients create going away parties or farewell parties before euthanasia, where we can all get together and sort of celebrate the animal and do things to sort of give the animal a send off. And of course, I help clients construct funerals and providing any kind of spiritual support that they need. And I also can do this work in veterinary hospitals.
Yeah.
Emergency rooms, especially, are a time where often people really need support when they've brought their animal in for an emergency.
Wow.
What do those parties, those farewell parties, tend to be like?
I knew you were going to ask
I
that.
know, because I know for me, I mean, when Jack was euthanized, right after I said, "Is he gone?" and they said yes, and I bawled so hard that the vet said, "It's like breathe, breathe, breathe." I was so upset. I think I don't want Jack or any of my pets. The last they see of me is bawling hysterically with a little,
A party
hat on my head.
I love the imagery that goes in your head.
What are they like? I mean, what are people's reactions are? Is it a happy time and fun with your dog, or is it just?
Yeah, like you mean, so if we're doing a going away party, we know the animal's going to be euthanized, or we know that, they're not probably going to live to another birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients do all kinds of creative ideas. One of my clients did a cat Seniora because her cat was turning 15.
Oh
and
my
it was pretty
God, that's
clear
so
that
cute.
I've also seen owners do bark mitzvahs if the dog is of a certain age and we know it's probably not going to be another year. And this is a celebratory time. It's a time to come together to celebrate the animal. And things we do at this party, everyone who comes, can write a memory in a memory book about the animal, which
That's
can be
nice.
really comforting, after the animal's passed away. Sometimes, so you guys really want to make it weird. Sometimes we even have a body bag there. There are body bags you can buy. There's a company called Euthabag that makes these gorgeous, dignified body bags. And you can actually have this body bag at the party, and people can write messages to the animal. They can draw pictures on it, so that if you're going in for your euthanasia, you can take this bag with you. You can place your animal in this bag. If your animal's going to be cremated, it can be cremated, or you can bury it. But it's something personal that really, kind of gives them a final send off. And there's these parties are another way to give us more support give the humans more support. These are the people who are going to step up for you. These are the people who will bring you a meal or write you a sympathy card or check in with you about your loss. So bringing everybody together before the loss also helps you bolster your community, which is really important after this happens.
So for anyone who's like, look, I just don't have it in my budget for this kind of counseling, other than having 7 friends on rotation so no one gets sick of hearing the same story 6 times.
Yeah.
Do you have like maybe 1, 2, or 3 things? What are the top things that you tell people that you could tell our listening moms, do this, try this, it will help?
For sure. Well, when it comes to our kids, one thing that I really do love is reading to them about this, age appropriately. But there are some terrific pet loss books out there.
Great.
And there's lists all over the internet that are really great. I have a whole stack behind me right here. Mr. Rogers has a book. It's a classic, but it's about losing a pet. And now Daniel Tiger has one called Remembering Bluefish for sort of the younger set. Some of you may have heard of this book called The 10th Good Thing About Barney. That's a really beautiful book celebrating, what we love and remember about our animals. There's another book called Dear Brave Friend that is beautiful about loss. And there's also kind of a writing part in the back for elementary age kids. I could also get a list together and put it somewhere wherever you guys want to put it for you.
Yes, let's do that.
Great. That would be
we got you listening, Mom.
I have, so we'll get that list for you. So there are many books. I love books with kids because even if they can't, fully understand, because cognitively at different ages, death means different things, right? And for most kids, 6, 7, 8 is only when the idea of death being permanent really comes into place. But even then, there's kind of some magical thinking. So, this is a complex thing. So books are a great way to just keep reinforcing and keep understanding.
Yeah.
And other resources, I do a lot of work on Instagram. Come over to my Instagram account, Honoring Our
That's
Animals,
right.
because I offer a lot of resources. I do a lot of like kids book reviews, and I do different grief products that are reasonably priced that you can use. And also on Instagram, there are other wonderful resources for children's grief that you can find, different activities you can do. It's really important to help kids honor and remember and celebrate the animal once they're gone. So even just making a family journal, even while your pet's alive,
Sure.
Right. Here's some fun things we did with Cookie today.
Yeah.
Here's some fun things with Luca today, so that you have these memories to think about, remember, and look back on when they're gone.
I love that. And let's face it, adults are just big kids.
Yeah.
We probably need
especially
Daniel Tiger more than our kids do.
when it comes to our pets, especially.
Yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning of this that you have to think of these things at the beginning of your journey with your pet. One of the things that I noticed that we did too is that with Jack, our friend of ours said, you probably should get another pet because Jack's likely to die while Chase is a senior. Around the time he's a senior in high school. Like, oh yeah, we need to not have him suffer through that. So we planned a second pet, anticipating about that time. And I have a friend who said that recently she's noticed that the other college students that she's with, they're either losing their pet they've had growing up or sadly a grandparent. But it's all happening about the same time. And I'm sure those parents thought, we're getting our child a pet. But longevity-wise, likely the death will happen at a time that's pretty critical in their lives. Do you think about that when you're getting your new puppy? Should you think, well, I don't know, this puppy will live about 10 or 15 years.
I mean, every time is a critical time.
You can't plan that right to the, they could run out in traffic, so they can't. But yeah, is it anything you need to consider when you're getting the pet at all? I mean, we've actually put it in our thought process. Oh, well, if he's going to lose this pet, at least he'll have this pet. But that didn't help at all, actually.
Oh.
Well, yeah, that's a very complicated thing too. Some people want to get an animal right before their other animal dies, and then that can also often create feelings of resentment or comparison. I mean, it's very personal and complex about when you bring another animal into your home after a loss or kind of during a loss. So that's super complicated thing that I work through a lot with clients, because there can be a lot of when is it the right time to do that? And, it's very different for different people. I have clients who can adopt an animal the next day after a loss, and they're great. And I have other people where it's taken a long time, much longer. I took 3.5 years after Arnie died before I welcomed another animal into the home, because that's how long I needed. But to answer your question, we don't know how long our animals are going to live. We just don't know. So we can hope we're going to get 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, depending on the animal, but we just don't know. So I say welcome an animal who needs a home into your house at any time it's good for you. And we don't know what the future holds. So I wouldn't future trip on that
And
one.
just
Yeah.
enjoy that pet. Well, we
Woo.
have our Zoomer moms. We want to join us because I know they have a lot of questions for you, Beth. So welcome, Zoomer moms.
Hi, y'all.
Hi, well, I'm going to introduce everybody really quickly. We have Leslie Harrell, who is the mother of 2 children and a lovely dog. He's lovely. Sabrina Jones, who is a mom. Now, Sabrina, do you have any pets?
I actually used to have pets. I used to have
So you're
2 dogs who passed and a couple birds.
yeah,
So, yes.
familiar with this
Yeah.
situation. Jennifer Marsh, who could probably write a book about this subject herself. She has 2 children and 3 dogs. And Julie Orchid, who has in her life, she's had 2 daughters, numerous pets of all shapes and sizes. There's one right there, it looks like.
Oh, Julie.
Yes, and we remember her well.
Yeah.
And Julie also has a puppy who's a year old, and she's about to become a new puppy mom. So she's bringing another puppy into her life. So welcome, moms. And with that, Julie, do you have any questions for Beth?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I do. I have a 2-part question, Beth. You said spiritual, and it made me think of, do a lot of people ask to speak to their pets? Do you ever, you know what I mean? Like after they've gone? I've heard about that a couple times. And the other thing is that I had to giggle when you were like, you start grieving the day you pick the puppy up. Well, I just picked out the puppy yesterday, so I don't think I'm going to lead with that with the kids. Like, here's your new puppy. Like, yeah, like, no. But that's my first question. And then my other one is that what is your suggestion to people when you do know that you need to put your dog down? I think I have a little bit of regret of not looking Sweetie in the eyes when she passed. I mean, I had my hand on her, but I didn't think about that till afterwards.
Yeah.
Great. Two great questions. Well, the first one, I will say quickly, I am not an animal psychic or communicator. There are a lot of people who do that in my
Beth,
field.
okay, conversation's over. I'm done.
All right, guys. I'm a lot of things.
I'm
just
out.
not that.
Maybe she knows some good ones she can refer you to.
That's right.
I know many. Yeah. I know many, and a lot of people find tremendous comfort in working with a communicator. So that is definitely something that people seek out, and a lot of people who come to me have done that or are going to do that. But also, I tell people today, always remain open to visitations, to signs, to coincidences. Even if you're someone who isn't particularly woo-woo or who doesn't necessarily believe in that.
Sure.
So many people have anecdotally expressed to me, hundreds of clients, right, that they've had some visitations or interactions from their animal, and it brings them great comfort and excitement. So I just remind people to remain open, even if you're not going to go to a communicator. So that's what I would say about that. And thinking about, the next piece, obviously we're not gonna lead with the puppies coming home and we're gonna have to say goodbye. I just got kittens. I just got kittens a few weeks ago, and I was like, we're starting the goodbye now, but I'm not gonna talk about it. I mean, even me, I don't really want to talk about it. But I do want to say something about the regret piece that you have there.
Yes.
Almost all of us feel some sort of regret. I have them too. Okay. Even about Arnie's death. And I was so prepared. Right. And something with regret is that it can be a great teacher for us in the same way that our animals are our greatest teachers. Some of the things that we wish had gone a little differently, we can learn from. And I try to look at regret, like in this case, you were there with her.
Oh,
She could feel you. She could hear you.
Yeah.
She was safe. She was loved. She was protected. She was with her favorite person in the whole world. Isn't that how you want to die? That's how.
Oh, Lord.
Well, it is.
Okay, next question.
So in the big picture, what a beautiful death. What a beautiful final gift of love you gave her. Really,
Wow.
truly.
Thank you, Beth. That's
That's beautiful.
And so you didn't look her right in the eye. But I know, I could tell by how you said it, she felt loved and safe and at peace. And that's what we want for them. And that's what we want for us. So whatever you need to do to release that, sometimes if we have a little regret like that, you might write her a little note. Hey, I'm so sorry I didn't look you in the eye. I loved you so much. It just escaped me. I love you so much. And even just writing a little note or doing a ritual or something to close it out for yourself, and then let that go. Look at what you did do, not what you didn't do. Look at what you did do, release it, and learn from it. You know what? Next time, maybe you'll do something a little differently, and that's okay too.
Yeah, that's great.
That's really powerful. I really appreciate it, because I don't want people to think I travel with Sweetie in a box everywhere I go. She just happened to be up here in the mountains where she will be laid to rest.
Is she by is she by your bedside?
Well,
that seems to be a popular spot. I talked to someone else yesterday that said, I had my dog by the bedside. It's not unusual, Monica. Jennifer.
Next time you're going to have a party for your animals. I know this.
I am. You know me. I love them. I have big parties.
Yes.
Jennifer. Jennifer has 3 dogs, and one of them who may end up incarcerated with Luca. It sounds like they have similar issues, or we do group therapy. Jennifer, that's an idea. So we'll have group. Since they do the same thing.
My dog was trained in prison, by the way, so incarceration might be a really good thing.
That would not be a bad thing.
Yeah,
So
we'll have another
Otis
episode
and
about
Luca
that.
may spend a little time together, but that's not the subject of today's talk.
No.
Jennifer, do you have any questions?
Oh, I have lots of questions. And, one of mine is that there was this theory that I didn't end up subscribing to, and maybe I should have, which is that with kids, you start with little deaths, like you get like a goldfish where, it's short lifespan. You learn to say goodbye to something you're not as close to, and then you kind of work your way up to a hermit crab, and then, a hamster, and then eventually work your way up to a dog. And I was kind of like, that's too much death for me. And that's too much. So I was like, let's just go all in. We'll get a dog.
Wow.
I got a dog that would live longer. So hopefully make it my plan was it would make it all the way till they got to college. And hopefully it's so far so good. I have 2 more years. And then, but then we realized it actually happened to me when we had an incident where I was in an ER for pets. And this person came through with a puppy, and they're like, code blue, and they're running through with this code blue puppy, and which means that the puppy is about to die, basically. And I don't know what happened to the puppy, if it ate something, got hit, or anyway, the puppy lived, thank God. But it made me realize, like, I am not ready for our dog Chessie to die. She's been an amazing part of our family. So, and my son never really got to have her as like be her owner, because she always considered him like a litter mate. So I was like, we need to get another dog. So, because it seemed like it'd be easier to let go if we had another, I don't know. That's what we decided. And along the way, my aunt's, who lives alone, and she's 79, with her dog. It was really her life companion. And they were 2 halves of one whole, that she and this dog. She lived every day for this dog. It died. And I was like, hey, I'm on 2 litter lists. My mom's like, oh, we should totally get her a puppy. And we did. And she thought it was a great idea. And then we came home, and I was like, oh, I'll make this easier. I'll go pick up the puppy for her. I'll take it for the first few weeks until I can fly it out. And at the last minute, she's like, I can't, I'm not ready. So now I have 3 puppies.
Okay. And our question is, Jennifer.
Yeah. So, and it's worked out great. But at the same time, it's this whole, like, you do have to think about the end at the beginning, because it's traumatic, because it's the death will happen, and it's going to come sooner than you want it to. And it's going to come when your kids are potentially at a fragile time. Like Monica was saying, they get to their freshman year in college, and especially if it's like, 2020 and they're locked in their room and they have to do everything on Zoom, and then the dog dies and grandma dies, and it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
So
that's why we have Beth.
My question to you is, like, do you recommend, like, what is that? Do you do the whole fish to hamster to dog stepstones?
No.
Just
dead birds.
Yeah.
Okay. We covered that,
So
Jen.
you just happen. So you should just happen upon, if you see them dead, then you have I had a neighbor like that when I was growing up. She buried everything that died in the neighborhood, was buried in a shoebox by their house. I don't know when they sold the house what those poor people did. But,
Wow.
But there was quite a pet cemetery there, or just an animal cemetery.
I don't know if sage is
Sabrina,
enough
do
for
you have
that.
a question for Beth?
Good morning. Yes. First, I would just like to acknowledge Beth. This was really informative, so thank you. And also, I really appreciate how you came into this work and how you provide such a loving space for others to go through this process and the grieving process. And I wanted to know do you have a recommendation for someone that is grieving currently? What would you say would be really helpful as a friend or as a family member, a tool or something to maybe step into in supporting someone that's grieving? Like, would be your go-to?
I love this question. Thank you for asking this question. My mission is to normalize and validate pet loss grief for the world, right? I really want us to stop making this a form of disenfranchised grief, which means grief that is not really recognized culturally as, bereavement, right? So this is a huge thing that we can all do by how we show up for our friends and our families when they are having this type of loss. So my first piece of advice is treat this loss exactly as you would as if it were a human family member.
Wow.
So in other words, what would you do if it was their mother, their child, their partner? I have people ask me all the time, my friend's dog died. Should I send flowers? Yeah, send flowers, send a plant, send food. Better yet, send food for 6 months, once a month, right? So they don't have to cook.
Where are those friends? I want friends like that. 6 months of meals? Hello.
Well, I'm telling you.
I'm sorry, Julie. I didn't do that for you, sweetie.
We love you,
I'll
Julie.
tell you, though, a couple things you can do right away. Number one, the minute your friend has a loss, put in your calendar. We all have iPhones and Androids.
wow.
We can do this, everyone. Put in your calendar the day the pet died. Now, 2 weeks later, check in on Beth about Arnie. A month later, check in with Beth about Arnie.
Wow.
And recur it every single month. And on the death anniversary date, that 1 year where everyone else has forgotten, you check in. You check in with her about how she's doing, about her loss. People forget. A lot of people are really nice in the first month and they send cards and they send flowers on things, and then it's silence and you're still grieving. You're still missing the everyday routine of being with your animal. This is your everyday. Everything about how you wake up, how you go to sleep, how you go for walks, how you caretake, it's all different. You are in the wilderness. So you've got to show up for your friends by just checking in and acknowledging their loss.
All right,
That's
listening
thing one.
mom.
Put it in your calendar. You can set it as recurring. You should see what my calendar looks like.
That's the one thing to take away.
That is great advice.
Yeah.
And
That's a great idea.
These dogs, these pets are so much part of your family. I know all my kids' birthday cards are signed by me, my husband, and the pets. So they're part of your they're part of the family.
Totally.
You're absolutely right. Leslie,
And I will say that, can I just say that my dad still signs Arnie's name on all of my birthday, Mother's Day, and Valentine's cards.
so
He's still
sweet.
part of the family.
Exactly.
And actually, speaking of that, we named our son, his middle name is Arnold, after Arnie.
Wow,
That's
that's
how
a
important
good
he was to us. And a lot of people think that's nutty, but you know what?
Hey.
Arnie is part of our family. He will always be part of our family. And now he is in our family, in the name. And that's really meaningful for me.
like
That's
that.
The
great.
one other thing I would say about supporting a friend too is just talk about the animal. Use the animal's name. Send a text and say, I remember that time that you were snowboarding with your dog and it was so fun, and I was thinking of that happy memory today. Bring them up. Talk about them. We have this misconception with people too, not to bring it up. We don't want to upset the person. We don't want to, bring up their name, say their name, talk about them, remember the happy times, and invite the guardian to share memories that they have about their animal, because no one's asking them, tell me a funny story about Arnie. No one asks me that anymore. I would love to tell you stories about Arnie. Bring them up. Say their name.
Leslie, do you have any questions for Beth?
So I have a different level of grief because I've lost animals, and so that's definitely a factor, but we had adopted a dog in October and brought him home, and he was fine in our household for 2 months, maybe 3 months. And then he and my other dog just did not click. So, I mean, I think our family went through some grief of we had to rehome that dog. And I don't know how often you do that too, but you know, that was pretty traumatic and it's still traumatic. I mean, I drove that dog from Austin to Atlanta to my best friend in Atlanta. And, you know, it was really hard. Like I was traveling across the country and I was, you know, taking this dog who, you know, we'd adopted him from a shelter. So you had the feel good of like, we were adopting a dog. And then the dog thing just didn't work out. Like our older dog just, it's so much so that like, you know, you have all these people who are giving your opinions of like, you should do this. And we did a dog trainer and we did all this stuff. But at the end of the day, like it was so stressful. And I do not regret that we had to rehome him because he couldn't have stayed here. But it was really hard on everybody in our family. And how often do you do that kind of counseling as well?
Very. I appreciate you asking this. Loss is not just death. Loss can be due to rehoming. Loss can be due to divorce. Loss can be due to moving and you can't take the animal with you. And don't forget about pets who, you know, run away or disappear and we don't know where they went. So I do work with many people who have a variety of different types of losses. And rehoming can be very sensitive because naturally, as the guardian, we feel we have total responsibility for the animal. And did we somehow fail, or is it somehow our fault, or should we have tried something else, right? So it can actually be a pretty significant loss because you're questioning a lot of things about what happened. And even if it turns out well and you get the animal to a new home, it's still a loss. So I would say to you and to anybody who's experiencing that type of loss or another type of loss that is sort of less obvious than death, is to just be gentle with yourself and honor that grief. You know, honor that animal. Do what you can if you want to have a little ceremony or a little ritual or a little, you know, a little altar or shrine, you know, for that animal, just as a memory that you were there for them. That's okay. I validate for you that that is a loss and that is something you can grieve. And whatever kind of loss you're experiencing with an animal, it's still grief. It's still a loss, no matter the context or circumstances.
Be okay with what is.
Yeah, I would say that was almost harder than our dog that passed away. Like we had a 14-year-old that passed away last July, and that's what that was what prompted adopting a dog. We waited several months, and then we were like, oh, I think we're ready for a dog. And then we had him for a couple of months, and it was fine. And then it just wasn't. And the vet basically said, you know, this could work, but most likely your older dog is going to lose and you're going to lose monumentally. And I was like, I'm out. But I mean, we get pictures, and so we check in on George Miller. We named him George Miller, so we check in on George Miller quite a bit. And
I would say one other thing that you mentioned that is critical that I want all of you to hear. Probably the number one thing we should never say to anybody who's experiencing any kind of loss is you should. You should. Anything with the word should or shouldn't isn't in it is something we should not say. So let's never say to people, you should do this or you shouldn't do that.
Where were you when I was growing up with 8 aunts and uncles?
Yeah.
Where were you?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, seriously.
Well, this has all been such amazing advice. And actually, just Julia's evidence, you talk about pet running away. Her ferret ran away for a year and came back. So you can even celebrate. You just never know what's going to happen.
Oh my God.
Well, Beth, thank you so much for joining us today. And we can find you at Honoring Our Animals on Instagram. Where else can we find you, on social media, or what do you?
Come to Instagram. That's my favorite place, Honoring Our Animals. And also come check out my website, which is honoringouranimals.com. There is a section on there that I call it Comfort, where there's some poems and quotes and just some thoughts to help you kind of get through the day if you're experiencing a loss. And you can read more about my sort of philosophy and position on pet loss and what it's like to work with me. And over on Instagram, we're having a real good time. I'm making lots of reels. I'm putting out a lot of posts.
It's super fun, guys. It's not
so great.
It's not death-like.
Great.
It's super fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to our sponsor, Catch Events, which is a wedding and event planning company that can turn your dreams into reality. You can find them at @catchevents_. And you can find us on Inside the Moms Club on our website, at Inside the Moms Club on Instagram, and we're really active on Instagram.
Yeah, we are.
You want to catch us. As a matter of fact, so here's what we want you to do, moms. Please send us video where you're giving a tribute to your pet.
Please.
We will post our favorite ones. I mean, they're all, I'm sure, wonderful, but Beth has a lot on hers as well. But please send them to us, and we will post them because we want us to honor our animals on our Inside the Moms Club Instagram account. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be back next time with celebrities and extraordinary moms just like you. We know your me time is precious and valuable. Thanks so much for sharing some of it with us. Remember our motto, moms. If you don't laugh sometimes, you are going to cry. And let me tell you, crying is the worst. You don't want to cry.
Sometimes it's really good, though.
Sometimes you need it.
I'm
but
just saying.
Most of the time, no. Laugh, laugh, laugh. Let's all laugh. Anyway, thanks again. We'll see you next time on Inside the Moms Club.
All right.